This is a video recording for Lab 2 filter the visual part. I've done 2 files for this lab as well. So the first one, let's see what it does first. Okay, it's an image that will move down and right. While it's moving, the size and the blurriness of the image will change. So it will get bigger and smaller again, bigger and smaller. And it will get blurred and back to clearer and blurred again. So how I did that, I defined 2 vector variables, one is a position and the other is velocity. The position simply just remembers the image position, and the velocity will be added onto the position every time draw is called. So as you can see here. And I always translate the 0 coordinates 0, 0 to position x and the position y, just to make it easier to display the image instead of calculating the image place every time. After that, I use scale function to change the size of the image. So I have another variable called change scale, and that's been set to 1. And filter function, blur. The blur constant is just to control how blurred you want the image to be. After that, there will be a chunk of if-else code. This part is controlling the size. So I have a scale flag, change scale, as mentioned before, and the scale speed. The scale speed will be taken away or added onto change scale every time draw is called. It depends on the value of scale flag. So if it gets bigger and bigger and bigger and to a maximum point, I set it to like a maximum point, let's say no bigger than 1, change scale no bigger than 1, then scale flag will be changed into false. The value of scale flag will be false. And the next time it goes into else instead of the if part, and it will get smaller and smaller and smaller again. So that's how I made it to get big, small, big, small, big, small. And I did the same for the filter blur part. So I have a blur constant and the change blur. So every time draw is called, change blur will be added onto blur com or taken away. So blur com will be no bigger than 5 and no smaller than 1. And whether it's added or taken away from blur constant, it depends on blur flag. So that works the same way as the change scale part. And let's look at it again. And you'll get image moving downwards and right, and blurred change size at the same time. So that's my first file. Okay, on to the second one. I'll show what the second file is like first. Okay, so it's just 2 cubes. It's not really like cubes, but a rectangle shape, 3D rectangular shape that is moving in different directions, and as it hits the X and Y, the border, it will bounce back, so it will not go off screen. Okay, oh, you can see it's in 3D as well. So for the code of this, I defined 2 different positions, velocity and a flag. So the position and velocity works as the same as the first file. It controls the position of the shape, the object, and how much I want it to move. So that's a velocity, how much I want it to move. And initialized everything is set up. Right. For this file, I use push matrix and pop matrix because they are two objects, and I want to translate the 00 point to the object every time. So because I have two, I don't really want it to interfere with the other. That's why I use push and pop matrix. And yeah, this is to check if it has gone off screen. And for the 3D shape object, it's better to use box instead of rect or ellipse. And this part is my second object here. And of course it has if else conditions to check if it's gone off screen and been translated to the position 2 of X and Y, and I use box as well. And after that, pop matrix. So you can see it nicely here that it will go up and down in different directions, and when it hits the edge of the sketch, it will be bounced back. So that's my second file.